Uh, just testing the mic because last time I did a live video, um, there was no audio, so I was just basically talking, um, and you couldn't hear what I was saying. Um, right, I just thought I'd do a video for any stragglers that stumble across this YouTube channel. Um, that means people that don't already know me, like friends and that. Although I don't even think friends are watching these videos because they must be really boring. Not my friends, my videos. So yeah, this is me. I'm Sean. Um, I'm a writer. I trained to become a counsellor, but I had to give that up because I finally got the diagnosis for my mental health issues, and this was a couple of years ago, and I was diagnosed with bipolar. Um, and since then, I see the psychiatrist every 3 or 4 months, um, and since then, I've been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. I'd try saying that after a couple of drinks. Right. So what should I say about myself other than what I am now? Well, I wouldn't say I had a traumatic upbringing. My mum divorced my biological father when I was very young, probably 1 or 2. And one of my earliest memories is going, not even going. I could my earliest my biological dad was a drummer, and I can remember seeing this drum kit and then looking out through like these. I might have been patio doors. I don't know. I would have only been about 2, and just seeing like the garden and everything. And that was the last time that I saw my biological dad until I was in my 30s. I'm not pointing the finger at anybody because that's just the way things happen. I mean, I'm estranged from my sons. They're they're in their 20s now, and yeah, let's not get ahead of myself. So anyway, my mum remarried when I was about 5, something like that. So the guy that she married ended up becoming my stepfather, and because I was very young at when that happened, um, it it was kind of an easy transition to So I'm not picking my nose; it itches. It's kind of an easy transition to go from this father figure and to call him dad. Um, I at the age of 11, I passed the 11 plus. Now that's I don't even know if they still do it. I think they probably do, but it was the 11 plus was for uh, people who were uh, moderately intelligent to actually go to a grammar school. Now, I didn't go to a grammar school. I went to a public school because the public school in Stanford had a few places open for people that passed the 11 plus, um, and I didn't fit in at a public school, not at all, no way. Um, I suffered from depression. I skived off school. I just didn't like being there. Um, and like at the age of 13, I was seeing a mental health nurse who asked me all sorts of questions and everything. Um, and in the end, I was kind of expelled from the school for mainly for non-attendance. I did do a couple of bad things. There was one time in history we had to write like a short story, and it was set during, I don't know, the 1700s or something like that. So I suppose to write a short story, but have it like set during the 1700s and just about how life was. And bearing in mind, I was only 13, 14, actually 14 probably, because this was in my last year at public school. And my story was set in a brothel. Um, and it featured some bawdy characters that swore and engaged in uh, paid for sex. Uh, I have no idea why I wrote that. I really don't. I'm like, what? When I think back and I think, fucking hell, Jesus, why would you do that? Um, so I handed it in. Um, Everybody else handed theirs in, and then I was hauled up in front of the headmaster, and I was threatened with a cane. Um, I mean, I look back and I think if if that guy had have tried to cane me, I would have I would have probably slapped him around the head with a chair or something. I I wasn't I wasn't well suited to public school. Um, so yeah, I I was expelled, and I went to a secondary modern school in my local town, Stanford. Stanford's only about 4 miles away from where I am now, and I just had a regular existence that you'd get when you're 14, 15, 16. You're going through your exams and everything. My exams, I got a maths CSE and an English O level, and I think it was a couple of years after that they brought in GCSEs and got rid of O levels and CSEs. Um, but that's pretty much all I got. I did get a crappy CSE in French and a crappy one in human biology. Um, but I wasn't interested in learning, not at all. So I went from there, and I I worked in a factory, um, and then I got a job in the factory where my stepdad lived. It seems like deja vu, like I've said this before. I don't know. Um, he was a window fitter, so he'd go out and fit the windows. But I was in the factory, and I would be making the windows. I did that for like a couple of years, then got the sack, then moved to another place um, as a window fabricator. Did that for a couple of years, then that business closed down, and then I spent, I would say, a few years on the dole. I was um, I was able to make ends meet by um, doing different kinds of stuff. When I was working at the first window factory, there was a guy there, and I'm not going to name him, although he was a skinhead. So that kind of narrows it down. Um, and there'd been skinheads at school when I was at school, when at the secondary modern, and I wasn't really that interested. It was like sort my mum would never let me shave me head anyway, so I didn't really pay much attention to it. And it was all about fashion and everything, and I was probably more of a punk than a skinhead, definitely, yeah. Um, but this guy at the window factory, he he kind of spoke about the fact. I mean, he was a National Front racist, and he kind of took me under his wing. So I kind of for a few years, from only from the age of 16, which is very young, up until I was about 19, 20. I I was kind of hanging around with these really dodgy blokes. They're older than me, obviously, um, and it was great material for a book. Let's put it that way. I wrote one of my books, and I wouldn't say it was autobiographical. It's like kind of semi-autobiographical. So it's about a young kid that gets bullied at school, at public school. He gets expelled, and then he knocks around with a bunch of skinheads. But it was a long time before I started writing books. I wrote. I mean, I was writing probably from about the age of 18, 19, and my first novel that got published was an alternative history book. It was called Die Stund X, and I'm not trying to sell copies of the book. So basically, um, no, I don't really want to just mention my books because that's not what this channel's about. Um, but that was in 1995. I would have been 26. I was about 24, 25 when I wrote the book, um, and at that kind of point, I moved away from factory work and started working in offices, and that was just a lot easier. My my first temping job was in a typing pool for Norwich and Peterborough. I think it was. It was some bank anyway. And it was at the there's a business centre in Peterborough called Lynchwood. Um, Kind of an ominous name for for a business center. But yeah, it was there. So we'd get like, oh god, I was typing up stuff. I was typing up letters for people that um, had applied for jobs. So I got to see all of the files that people had written. You know, when they're interviewing these people, and it was like one of them was like, um, I'm 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 guessing it's because they want to remember a particular person. But one said something like, um, "Large woman, flowery dress." She didn't get the job, but there was so many other kind of weird kind of things that they'd written down. But yeah, like I say, they obviously did that to like trigger their memories and everything. But um, I I joined the civil service when I was about 28, and um, it's not like the quiz shows where they say uh, what's your job? I'm a civil servant, but I can't tell you where I work. Um, I can tell you where I worked. I worked for the land registry. It was a a boring job, um, but like there was a bunch of us, and we always had a laugh at work, like taking the piss out of each other and like putting posters up around the office and just basically playing pranks on one another. Why would you do that when you're like in your 30s? Um, and I left there and became a prison officer, and I met one of my um, dearest mates when I worked in the prison service. As a guy called I'm going to call him by his name rather than by his nickname, and just because I don't want like if anybody like watches this and like, but his name's Paul. He was a really nice guy. He took me under his wing, pretty much like that skinhead did when I was 16. No, but it was different. He took me under his wing, and we became very good friends. We'd do karaoke together. We starred in a couple of no, we only starred in one short film together. Um, he was a singer. I I've seen him gigging recently and everything. But yeah, I was in the prison service for just over 2 years, and Um, then I got involved in an investigation, and that just stressed me out unbelievably. And this is probably the first time that I noticed that I had serious mental health issues. I mean, when I was working at the land registry, I got passed over for promotion to HEO, which is like middle management type thing. I was an EO at the time, executive officer, um, and I got passed over for promotion, even though I was doing the work of the grade above, and so that was probably when, if when I look back, I think that was probably an example of borderline personality disorder. The way that was like I just went from 0 to 60, like, no, fuck off. I can remember my line manager coming up with this work for me to do, and it was for the grade above. And this was after I'd been passed over, and she'd given me a average report for the board, um, the promotion board. And I just said, you can take that shit away because I ain't touching any of that. Get one of these other fuckers to do it. And I look back, and there were times when having BPD means that you get triggered. You get triggered. Things trigger you, and you go from 0 to 60 just like that. Um, so yeah, I joined the prison service. I was investigated. I was cleared of any wrongdoing, but in the mix with stress, um, and I really was stressed because it was a job that I enjoyed doing. I had about 3 or 4 friends. It's not many friends, is it? 3 or 4 friends who I work with, um, and we all used to have a good laugh. And we spend so much time at work that we need to have a good laugh when we're at work. It's not good going to work and being depressed. So waking up in the morning, or even before you go to sleep at night, thinking, "Shit, I've got to wake up in the morning and go to this shitty job." But the prison service was like that for me. I really enjoyed it. I worked with lifers, um, and I built up a good rapport with my colleagues and with the prisoners on the wing. Um, but yeah, I was off. I was off work with stress. Um, And during that time, I applied for a job at the DWP, Department for Work and Pensions. And this was working in a job centre in Rugby. Um, and Rugby's a fucking long way from where I live. So I was offered the job on the very same day that my hearing had cleared me of any of the hearing had cleared me of any wrongdoing, um, and that I was due to come back on shift on the Monday or something. So I mean, I accepted the job from the DWP, um, and just in case. But I went into work at the prison service, and it just felt as if it's just like constructive dismissal. I got like a junior governor telling me that I'm on a final warning, and I'm like, what? How can I be in a final warning? I've been cleared of any wrongdoing. Um, I've got the number one governor, the governing governor, calling me, and I apologise for this word. So please turn off if you don't like bad language, or just put your fingers in your ears, and then I'll put my thumb up when I finish saying it. Um, are we ready? Yeah. I once I was cleared, he took me into his office, which was just off where the interview was taking place up for this hearing. And my friend who I spoke about earlier was sitting in that room because he'd accompanied me to the hearing. And the governor called me a cunt and basically said he's got his eye on me and all this kind of thing. So anyway, I put my thumb up so you can come back in. Yeah, come back in. Yep. Um, I'm finished with the swear word. Uh, you can imagine what swear word it is anyway, because I said fuck earlier and I didn't I didn't censor it. So yeah, my friend actually heard the shouting and screaming that the number one governor was um, was doing in my direction, and I just thought this is like it's an untenable position. I literally can't work here any longer. I can't. Um, so I did do about 3 shifts. Like I said, I'd already been offered this job at the DWP. I was working in a job centre as an advisor. Um, and the pay was quite good. It needed to be because rugby was a fucking long way from where I lived. So I think I was spending about 400 quid a month on petrol when I eventually took the job. And yeah, after about 3 days, I just I was at home. I emailed the personnel manager, a HR boss or whatever. I think shared services was the official name, and I said, look, I'm giving you notice because I'm leaving. And she emailed me back and said, like, why? And I said, well, I didn't appreciate being called that word that I said earlier by the number one governor. I almost slipped up there. So, so yeah, I left the prison service, stayed in touch with my friend, and I went to the DWP. That, but I was suffering from stress, really bad stress. It's kind of that upheaval from where I was in a comfortable position. I was in a relationship at the time. I just started the relationship with this person. Pretty much, I think the first 3 or 4 dates that we had, I was a prison officer, and then after that, I was working in a job centre. And I did actually enjoy the job centre job, but I was being sent for training in Birmingham, and I was really struggling financially. Yeah, I mean, I was earning more than what I was earning when I was in the prison service, but 400 quid every month in petrol, just absurd. And then I had to make my way to Birmingham for additional training, and I just thought I can't do this. Can't do it. It's really stressing me out. So I I got signed off for stress, and the wheels of the civil service move very slowly. So it's like you kind of know pretty much with the prison service investigation that took about 6 months to get from accusation to me being cleared of any wrongdoing. Um, but I was in a fucked up place, and it didn't help the relationship that I was having at that particular moment in time. I mean, she was I thought she was beautiful. She was taller than me actually. I'm only 5'4", so I think most people are taller than me. But it it was at that point that I realised that I have some serious mental health issues that need addressing. But then I just put it all down to uh, depression. You feel stressed, depressed, and but looking back, and I've looked back um, many a time. There was the mania there as well, and there was also the over the top emotions that come from BPD. So disproportionate um, anger, and so I lost my job, lost the person who had moved in with me, and I was kind of out of limbo for a while. Um, and let me tell you, you only get back then you got like 60 quid, £62 or something, job seekers allowance as they called it. And I will say that I was once I went down that route, I was looking for a job. I missed having money. Um, and and eventually I got a job working in care, working with adults with learning disabilities, and that seemed like a really rewarding job. Um, but the problem with care is, you as a carer, a care officer, whatever you want to call yourself, um, you get put on a lot. So the firm that I worked for, I, it wasn't unheard of for me to actually be physically at work for about 3 days. That's without even coming home. So I'd do my shift. Um, you do like a 7 in the morning till 3, then hang on for the 3 until 11 o'clock at night, and then do a sleep, and then in the morning do the 7 until 3, and then the 3 until 11. I was literally there for 3 days, and I was trying to work on a relationship with my two sons, um, but I kind of couldn't. So I was earning the money, um, which is important because you need that to like. I'm not saying kids want money spending on them all the time, but it just helps. You know that you can, I don't know, take them out for a KFC or a McDonald's or whatever. Um, but I was being kept at work. Sometimes I had to cancel seeing my sons. Um, this was with my first wife. You know, we'd already separated and everything. We'd been separated for a long time. So yeah, I worked in care. I'm just gonna have a bit of Gaviscon because got really bad heartburn. I had an operation on my esophagus, and it's starting to really play up. Hmm. So yeah, working in care, I I really love the job, and I even put my name down for promotion up to senior carer. So you're basically in charge of a shift and all that. And I would have done it definitely, but they kept me. They kept me at one of the houses where we worked. It was supported living mainly. They kept me at one of the houses for like 4 days, and this might sound horrible, and I really apologise if you get offended by this, but working 4 days solid, so that's like let's say it's imagine working from 7 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock at night. Sometimes get a little bit earlier. Sometimes you stay awake a bit longer. But for that, I can't even figure out how many hours that is. What is it? It's about 15 hours, is it? Something like that. Imagine working for 15 hours with one guy who's profoundly autistic, and it just wore me down really badly. And the other guy that lived in the house, he was getting worn down by this this person. So 4 days stuck in there. Um, I mean, if the CQC had got involved, um, there would have been some kind of sanction there because that just wasn't. You, you're not supposed to work for that long. 4 days. I don't even know how many hours that is. We used to do sleep-ins, so we'd sleep from like 11 o'clock until we basically be waking up about 6:30 in the morning. So, and because I needed to unwind after the shift, so I'd go to the sleep room at like 11 o'clock, but I'd probably end up watching a film or something on my laptop. So I'd probably get about 5 hours sleep. Um, and yeah, I know with bipolar, I can be awake for a lot of hours, a few days, solid. Sometimes I'll probably doze for like about half an hour, but that's different because the, when when I'm going through a manic episode, I want to stay awake and I want to actually work on something creative. That's my my ultimate goal, and I just thought that I'm not really doing I'm not really doing these people justice by staying in this job role because when I was manic, I wanted to go home and just work on my shit, not work for somebody else. So I just walked out of the job. I'd been let down the week before, um, on the weekend, and I had to cancel seeing my sons because the person that was supposed to be relieving me on shift, uh, she phoned up and said she was off sick, and I'd been on shift for for like 3 days solid. So I rang up my line manager, the senior carer, and he basically just said, "Well, it looks like you're stuck there for another 24 hours then." And that just really fucked me off. I just thought, I'm not being funny, mate, but you're getting paid more than me. I've literally been here for like 3 days solid. You should fucking come in and cover for me. Not cover for me, cover for the other member of staff. Um, so yeah, I was already pissed off. So yeah, like literally, I just walked out of the job. I blocked everybody's number on my phone, deleted them all from Facebook, blocked them all and everything, all colleagues and that. Um, and that was when I thought, I I'd rather just sit at home and write, or write wherever I may do, and you know, uh, just live within my means and everything, and that's what I've been doing ever since. It's it's not like a normal job. It's not like a normal job. And I'm not one of these guys that just pretends that he writes books. I've got 15 on Amazon at the moment, um, under a pen name. So if you figure out what my name is on here, but because basically I've given my name away, um, you won't accidentally stumble across, or you won't stumble across um, my pen names. And I really, for these videos, I don't want anything like that. In the meantime, after I left working in care, I'd already done like I think about a year of study to become a counsellor, and the process in the UK is that you need to have a level 2 in counselling, a level 3, and then a level 4 diploma, and the diploma lasts like takes 2 years to finish. I'd also done like a couple of level 1s courses, and yeah, so I had to give that up when I was diagnosed with bipolar, and it was one of the things I did kind of let it continue, even though I knew that probably, well, I definitely shouldn't have done. You you can't you can't counsel somebody if you've got bipolar, because um, you it's an unpredictable illness. You don't know when you're going to feeling massively depressed. You don't know when you're going to feel like hyper, and that's no good for the person that you're counselling, for your clients. So I had to give that up, and it was. I mean, that was another big shame, because I did actually enjoy doing that job. I'm a pretty good listener, and also I talk a lot as well. But I never talked when I was well, I did talk, but I mean, I, I didn't talk this much when I was counselling people. Um, yeah, uh, we're almost up to modern time now, and I've been talking for like 36 minutes. No one's going to watch this video. Um, I I must have met my second wife about 4.5 years ago, and in fact, it probably would have been about 5 years ago. We're coming up to like June sort of thing, so we're 4.5, 5 years. Um, and I thought she was perfect. Um, she also had a similar bohemian lifestyle to me, what I had at the time. Um, she was although she didn't work in the traditional sense, she was what I would call intelligent, and I do like intelligent people, as long as they're not as more intelligent than me. I so I could have like good conversations with her. Let's put it that way. And I thought she was really, really pretty. Um, she had like um, she wore glasses, but whenever she took her glasses off, you could see her eyes, and they just kind of sparkled, and they looked really nice. I mean, I I learned to love them, behind the glasses as well. Um, she she just seemed perfect for me. Um, but she cheated on me. And I will talk about probably the whole behind the story sort of thing when I discuss borderline personality disorder, probably tomorrow or the day after, um, and how it affects a relationship. But yeah, she cheated on me, and which just kind of stunned me, because I wasn't expecting her to do that. But this is how people react to if they're dating, or if they're in a relationship, if they're married to somebody that's got bipolar or BPD. Um, and I we had a massive row where she confessed what she'd done, and I just stomped away from the house and everything. Um, but I'd got quite angry with the BPD, so I'd been shouting and screaming and everything, and getting in her face and all that. So for whatever reason, she reported me to the police, which, I mean, even now I'm still really pissed off with that. Um, but she also told the police that I had firearms. Um, I don't. I don't. I'll tell you what I've got. Um, it's an airsoft toy. Um, Film props, because I used to make short films. Um, she knew that I didn't have access to real firearms, but when the police came to arrest me uh, for I'm trying to think what it was now. Um, it was wrongful imprisonment, um, assault, and There was another one, I can't remember what it was. Um, and she told them that I had guns. So it was a 5 o'clock in the morning, a raid by the armed police. And it was it was a surreal experience. Let's put it that way. So here I am now through the other side. Um, I think the raid by the armed police, because I was living um, with my mum when that happened. I think the raid by the armed police probably, and I'm not being melodramatic, I think it probably finished my mum off. Because that was like November last year, October, and my mum died in January, and she was distraught, really, really, really distraught when the police turned up with like guns. And I had the counter-terrorism police in, like seizing all of my devices because I've got books on Adolf Hitler and the Third Reich, which is one of the topics I write about is alternative history. So you kind of need to know about not just the Third Reich, but the Russians, the Americans, and but they just picked up on the Hitler. So yeah, I had like all my laptops and phones seized. um, and yeah, I kind of came through that the other end. I was a lot of fucking about with my ex, because because of the borderline personality disorder, you need to be heard. You need to be heard and um, recognize that that person's heard you before you can move on. That kind of thing. So I was I was actually done for harassment. I wasn't done for wrongful imprisonment, the assault, and threats to kill. That was it. Threats to kill. Um, I did threaten to kick a boyfriend's head in. Although this is the thing with borderline personality disorder, you make those threats, but it's just to get it out of your system. It is that cliche, the bark being worse than the bite. But yeah, I'd contacted her by text, left voicemails. And there was one time when I'd left the voicemails when I was walking back from the pub. So obviously drunken voicemails. And in the morning, 8 o'clock, my phone rings and I see it's from my wife. So I answer it. And what I actually hear is the guy that she'd been cheating on with telling her what my voicemails were saying. So he must have he must have listened to the voicemails and then accidentally pressed the um, call the person button rather than the delete the voicemails button, and that fucking infuriated me. Um, and I mean, it was after that that I was arrested for harassment, and I was shown all some of the texts that I'd sent. I was shown like a photograph of that that gun that I just showed you, that airsoft toy. Um, that apparently was on my Facebook profile, and I was like, "But everybody knows it's a toy. It fucking even says in the description it's a toy. It's not real. I can't. There's no way you can get an AR-15 in the UK. So, and if you could, you wouldn't put it on Facebook. Um, so yeah, the coppers like reeled out all these and like, oh, you like sent her so many texts. I think it was about 40, 50 or whatever, and left loads of voicemails. And I'm like, well, I honestly can't remember because um, there's a very good chance that I was shit faced when I did it. Because in the cold light of day, you genuinely do not get in touch with an ex. So I ended up with a caution for that, and that's kind of where I am now. Um, with a caution, I had to attend two appointments. It was a conditional caution, So I had to attend a alcohol thingamajig, which might help me. And I can't remember what the other one was, but literally that one was just like, yeah, I realised I was a bit of a twat getting in touch with her, and it ain't gonna happen again because she's not on my phone anymore. So I've got no way of getting in touch with her. So yeah, I'm kind of in this place now where the the most significant thing that's happened to me in the last I'm 51 in the last 51 years is that my mum died at the end of January, and sometimes that really fucking hits me hard. But this is not that's not about bipolar or BPD because when we lose somebody important to us, it fucks with our heads, and my head has been severely fucked with. And I mean, for me, just the whole the whole thing is just made me realise that um, yes, I loved my ex-wife. Yes, I thought she was beautiful. I fancied her. Um, I was going through a couple of bouts of depression towards the last year and a bit of our relationship, and you know that's some people can't cope with it. They can't cope with having a partner who's got a serious mental health issue. So we shouldn't. What I'm trying to say is we shouldn't blame. Um, and it's normally our exes. We shouldn't blame our exes if they don't want anything to do with us because we've got severe mental health issues. I mean, I'll be really honest. I do miss my ex-wife, um, but I miss the good times. The good times were a couple of years ago, um, and I could never ever ever get beyond the fact that she cheated on me. Literally, as soon as I found that out, it was like, um, but with the BPD, I wanted to shout and scream at somebody, and all I could do was like shout and scream by text at her, and um, I'm beyond that now. I'm definitely beyond that. Um, when I think about it, it's as frustrating as hell that I can't get all of the information that I need. It's like, wow, she's been deceitful. She even called the guy rather than calling him by his real name, Stephen. She called him Andrew on a phone. How do I know? She accidentally sent a screenshot of uh, some text that they'd had together to um, somebody we both know, and that person told me and showed me the screenshot, which meant that I got the guy's phone number, and that just spurred me on even more with like the anger and everything. But then you think, wow, that's fucking deceitful. I never ever ever checked her fucking phone for anything, and what difference would it make if she called the guy Andrew or his real name Stephen? If I saw a if I was in the habit of checking a phone, I'm still going to be pissed off. So why I would be why the fuck would you be sending up she when we used to text, there was no kisses at the end of the text. It just wasn't. Um, unless I mean, for me personally, unless I really wanted to, we were apart or whatever, in different houses and or different locations, and I wanted to make her know that I was really thinking about, and then I put a couple of kisses. But she was like putting kisses at the end of these texts that she had with this guy, and he was putting kisses back, and it was like a knife right in the fucking heart. Really was. And there is absolutely no way that I could take back somebody who had been cheating on me. Not that she wanted to come back to me. She'd fucking moved on. She'd definitely moved on. It's like, wow. It's difficult when, and this doesn't just happen to men, it happens to women as well, when you realise that your partner has fucking moved on and doesn't give a shit if you cry, shout and scream, shit the bed or whatever. They just do not care because they've moved on. Um, and in a way, that is kind of like the dissociation that I sometimes feel um, with the borderline personality disorder. It's like, nope, I've done something wrong, but I'm just going to completely fucking ignore it and just move down this road. It's like you just don't want to be reminded of what you've done. Um, do I wish I was still with my ex-wife? No, I I don't because I I I could not be in a relationship with somebody who was that deceitful. Um, to me, I mean, don't get me wrong. In the past I've been quite deceitful when I was a lot younger, but I never transgressed any of the boundaries when I was with my ex-wife. Okay, yeah, I probably didn't because of mental health issues. I probably was not a good husband. Um, but yeah, going back to would I rather I was with my ex-wife? No, not in a million years. I wouldn't because um, as I say, you, you can't get beyond that cheating factor. Um, I know people who've got back with exes after something like that, and it's always there. That suspicion is always there. Um, so, like on the one hand, like I do miss her. I miss the good aspects, which would have been about 3 years ago. Uh, before it all turned to shit. Um, but I don't want to be with her anymore. And it, it took me a long time to get through that process of that grieving for the end of the relationship. Trying to shove the bad shit to the back of my head where I've not got to deal with it, and I don't have to deal with it. I'm talking about thinking about the deceit and the fact that she was probably texting this guy while I was sitting next to her. That all that kind of stuff. Um, but I don't need to worry about that because I can I can dissociate myself from that and just shove it to the back of my mind, and hopefully it'll just disappear in a bin somewhere in the back of my head. Um, so where am I at the moment? Um, I'm I'm lonely. Um, I'm missing my friends because I obviously can't see them. Um, and I'm kind of at the point where when I do actually look at myself in the mirror, normally after I've had a shower or bath or something, and I look at myself and think, you know, you know what, mate, you're going to be single for the rest of your life. 51, at this moment in time. What, what, where am I actually going to meet somebody? And it's a bit bit late in life to actually start dating again, really. Um, and it doesn't help that this is down to the borderline personality disorder. I don't trust people. I have a fear of abandonment. So because of both of those, I tend not to want to get close to anybody. So when I've and this has happened to me in the past, but this time it's probably more. There's more reality there because basically I'm 51. A chances of me finding somebody who's going to be accepting of my bohemian lifestyle and the fact that I don't go out to work at like 9 o'clock in the morning or whatever, it's very slim. So just kind of realised that going to be with you know what like it would I can't even think when the next time I'll ever have sex will be. So and here's another thing. I I kind of um at some point my mind's in a make believe world where I'm thinking um my ex didn't cheat on me. She just made it up, in spite of the evidence that I saw. So this kind of it's not a fantasy is too strong a word. It's like a daydream um that she made it up and that she didn't actually cheat on me. She was just friendly with a guy and they never did anything and that she wants me back. But there is more chance of me shitting in the Queen's handbag than there is of that happening. It's that reality thing. When once you once you allow reality to kick you right up the arse when you're in the middle of a daydream, that's when you know just fucking move on, mate. Um, but look, this video is like an hour long, and I know it's a live video, so I'm hoping that it will save it so other people can be bored by this video. What I will say is it is 2 in the morning um, here in Peterborough. Um, and if you have watched, thank you for watching. Um, if um, if you fast forwarded to the end, you missed that massive confession that I made about what happened between me and uh, that guy that was played the purple Teletubby. So yeah, um, thank you for watching. As I said earlier, I'm doing too many videos now. That wasn't what I said earlier, but as I said earlier, stay safe, look after yourself, and I'm gonna end this stream now, and I'll probably speak to you tomorrow.